All right, we are live right now. Want to welcome everyone to our Facebook Live session. This is the first session of five live webinar sessions, and the whole series is to help you enhance communication and leadership skills and the abilities for professional growth and business excellence. Now, all of these sessions are free to attend. They'll be on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. All right. And what's going to happen is we're going to learn skills, techniques, and strategies, and maybe some secrets of leadership and performance in business for success and profits. Now, there's no hard selling. It's not a pitch fest. We're going to share real value and training, and our guest today has promised, to do that. And so, with that, I'll introduce our guests um, for this evening for this session. In fact, he'll be on two other sessions for a total of three. And so we have Coach D with us this evening. Welcome, Coach D.
How you doing, Chris? Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, one of the things about Coach D is he asks himself this question: what kind of leader do I want to be, and what do I need to do in order to get there? And he asked himself this question when he began his business and entrepreneurial career. What he learned through coaching was there was so much more he didn't understand. So he got NLP certified, then studied about human behavior and change. And over the last 16 years, Coach D has successfully coached people to be better leaders and to grow themselves first. Now, when he talks about leadership, it's not about the corner office or leading a group of people at first, but first learning to lead ourselves
That's right.
and making tough decisions for ourselves, communicating instead of reacting, and avoid letting fear or emotions get in the way. Now, he says this has helped him with his family, his new business, and his associates. And Coach D knows this can help you on your journey. So he doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk and has helped several great seasoned mentors. Oh, sorry, he has been helped by several great seasoned mentors and coaches who have helped him being accountable as well. So I want to welcome Coach D with us this evening. Welcome, Coach D.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Well, Chris, you said it all. You mentioned everything, so I guess the webinar can stop now. You did my job for me already, so it's all good.
Awesome. I have a question before we really get into it, yeah, Coach.
Sure.
Um, you know, why okay, I'll ask you this question and then maybe you can answer it, or maybe you're going to answer it during your session. But I'll ask you this question and then you can just go straight into it. I'm going to hand the floor over to you once I ask this question. So the question to start us off is, why are you so passionate about leadership?
Wow. Okay. It started maybe about 15, 18 years ago. When I started business when I was quite young. So I had several businesses. I had like three and a half businesses, and but the problem is I got lucky. Okay, so
Okay,
most of the businesses they pretty much succeeded at a time where the economic situation around the world was very it was growing.
sure.
It was picking up, and everybody had money, and things were really going really well, right? But the problem is that that success did not prepare me for failure.
Mm,
So when things didn't work as well anymore, when the economy started getting bad and things had to change, I wasn't ready for it, and I
okay,
screwed up big time. I lost businesses, and sometimes when you lose business and finances, then things happen in the family. Um, and it took me, I would say, a good 3 4 years to maybe even more, about 3 to 5 years to literally understand that if things had to change, it would be up to me.
sure.
Okay. So, I had to basically, start to lead myself. And so that
Okay.
was that was the big change for me, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. That I think so many people could use this help and use the information that I want to
Okay.
share.
I think you hit it right on the head because that's exactly why we came up with this whole series, right?
That's right. That's right. So we're hoping we're able to be able to give some good tips and tactics to help people to realize that leadership success, it's all up to us. We no one's going to give it to us, no one's going to hand it to
Sure.
us, and it's up to be able us to be able to take control of our own lives.
Mm, got it.
So welcome, Agnes.
Do you want to start your slides now, Coach D?
Yes. So let us begin now. Okay. All right. So I don't know this. There are people from around the world maybe will be watching this, and so on Facebook. So we're live now. So I want to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you know you are during these crazy times. But wherever you are, okay. I do hope that you folks are all safe and next to loved ones and close with family members. Okay. So what I want to do today is, as leaders, okay, in today's modern businesses, leaders have to play so many different roles, right? And because of that, uh, they serve multiple audiences. And this is especially true for people with their own businesses, entrepreneurs, small business owners. And
Right.
although they wear different hats, okay, they pretty much communicate one primary vision. And most importantly, they have to ensure that their leadership style and decisions provide proper guidance. All right. So most besides that, they need to be able to lead and guide their teams and ensure that their colleagues are adhering to their corporate culture and things like that. So today we want to talk about the why of leadership in a more in-depth perspective. Besides leadership in a sense of like a general in a war or someone who's walking around with a big stick waiting for you to mess up. Okay. And although some of you may not own a business or may not be in a position of leadership now, it doesn't matter. The information today will increase your opportunities in your career to get you there. So, in the following two parts, we'll be focusing on the how and the what of leadership. So, part two will be the how to's of being an effective leader. And part three will focus on what to do to be an effective leader and having a leadership development culture. It's not that simple to be an effective leader, as some people may think. So, why is leadership important? Okay, well, it's because the potential success of your business depends on the potential of your human assets. People assets are the responsibility of its leaders, regardless if you're an entrepreneur, a corporate manager, small business owner, and you know what, even a parent, right? Your potential success doesn't depend on your dream, it depends on your team. Probably from a simplistic point of view, with a short list to start with, we can say that leaders must ensure processes are followed properly. They need to be able to communicate clear and concise information to their team members. Leaders are great problem solvers and should foresee issues way before anyone else can, right? Leaders need to ensure that their people they are able to motivate their people. Sometimes it may be to do OT, right? I think some of you have experienced that, right? Whenever it's needed. Maybe they need to take one for the team in regards to a promotion or lack thereof one, or maybe a salary freeze, right? Leaders need to ensure better collaboration and try to work out any issues among team members, which mean they have to have good people skills. Leaders need to be able to ensure that the company culture is being adhered to and that customer service and support are adequate to be able to serve the companies, the customers after that they purchase or they use your product, and they inspire growth. They inspire their people to grow. Okay, because again, if they don't grow, your company doesn't grow. Right now, the list can go on and on depending on your business and services you provide. But for business and companies to function, the list is just a basic start. So, so as in life, as we as individuals, if we don't plan for our own success, growth, or health, we will eventually, unintentionally, head towards a decline. In an ever growing society, regardless of what part of the world you live in, okay, we won't get ahead in life financially to be able to pay our bills, right? To take care of our family and to support our loved ones whenever we need it and have that dream house, or even, take that dream vacation that you're looking for, right? Visiting exotic places around the world and experiencing different foods that they have to offer, because I know, especially in Malaysia, we have a lot of foodies here, right? But for some, one thing good about us humans is that, we may still be able to be happy, right? Which is one thing as a human being we can achieve in our personal lives. Regardless of finances, we could choose to be happy. That's true. But I think that, you can all agree with me with that. It wasn't Bill Gates or Ray Kroc or Henry Ford's intentions for their businesses to just be happy. And I'm also sure that's not why you started your business or you want to succeed in your career so you can just be happy, right? They, like you, had a vision, a dream, and an answer to a problem in a big way. But in order for them to achieve this dream, they had to put in more. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak couldn't stay and work in their garage all the time, right? Eventually, they had to move. Ray Kroc didn't just want to own a franchise of restaurants. He wanted and needed more. He knew he had to grow or lose control to the McDonald brothers, right? But to grow a company is a whole different concept than to just run one, right? Remember McDonald brothers or Apple? Ray Kroc had to plan, work, and learn, and plan, work, and learn until he increases leverage to gain more control over the business. Steve Jobs said, get it done, when he wanted to enhance the usability of a tablet. And he didn't take no for an answer, right? So to be successful requires work and persistence. But to grow, you need to have a vision. In today's business environment, if you don't grow, if you're not growing, you die. It's basically that simple, right? But different skills and talent is needed. Why? Because the leaders need to make hard choices and lead the team, right? Where do you want to go with the company or the team? Okay? So they have to provide direction. Leaders need to make that hard choice to tell the team and execute. And leaders need to own up to negative outcomes. And includes during times of crisis. Because sometimes things don't, when you have crisis, things happen all of a sudden, and you may not have time to think that much. So you have to be able to react quickly, right? So why do we need good leaders? Well, simple. You know, good leaders need to be happy, be able to make their people and motivate their people to be happy as well as productive, right? Leaders should be able to humanize the business, right? So why do we need great leaders? Because they increase the bottom line, right? Believe it or not, having great leaders increases your profits, right? But why do we need exceptional leaders? Because they can grow and scale the business accordingly. Okay? Now, note that growth and scaling a business are two issues. Okay? So growth may mean you increase in sales. You may increase in personnel size, or even office space, right? Maybe you'll buy another building. You may increase manufacturing or production. But to scale a company, all these components must grow together, okay? Which you are then able to scale and sustain. Now, Chris, I have a question for you, if you don't mind, right?
Sure.
Okay, so I would like to ask 3 questions, right? And I'd like to hear what you think. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, great, thank you. Anybody in the audience, if you want to answer, please do. Okay. So second question. So let's say your production increases, but you don't have a properly trained sales and marketing team to promote and sell. What do you
Right.
think would happen?
Well, things will get stuck.
Right. Right. So you have your production, and now all of a sudden you're just building up, but your marketing and sales team aren't doing what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Okay, great. So, third question, if your production sales teams are great, but you have problems retaining good people in marketing to get leads and understand what your market wants, what's going to happen then?
You get stuck also.
Exactly. Okay. And these are just some of the whys leadership is important, because
Mm,
whatever sector your business is in, if you're not growing, you're going to be left behind in your market.
right.
And I believe more so for businesses in developing countries and developing sectors, right? I'm not sure if any of you are familiar, but during the start of this pandemic in China, every Tom, Dick, and Harry who had a business all decided to switch and got into making PPEs and face masks, right? So those who got in early did okay, but those who didn't got stuck with mask making machines, and the raw material, I believe they call it, is polypropylene to produce them, right? So things in today's business environment changes really fast, and a leader must be there to lead through those changes. But remember, before a leader can lead others, they need to learn to fly, which is an acronym I did not create, but I totally believe, which means first lead yourself. So, whether you're a leader in a startup, small business, or corporate setting, growth will lead to more issues. Leaders need to defeat the first enemy of growth, which is complexity. In Les McCohen's book, Predictable Success, he says, success is achieved by introducing the systems and processes needed for the organization to conquer complexity and get out of white water. Okay? White water is his version of change, or when things hit the fan, if you get my drift, right? So, but for those who are not familiar with his work, let me explain his flow here, right? So, if you look on the image, early struggle indicates on the bottom left is on the image is indicates the first start of your business. When you start applying for licenses, you're setting up your office, buying stationery, maybe hiring a secretary, doing advertising, and trying to get customers. So this is the part where you have early struggle. But as we move up, we enter the fun stage, right? So fun is where you start seeing the fruits of your labor. You know, you're in the black, you're making money, and you guys are having fun, going out, celebrating basically every night and things like that, right? But whitewater is when issues start to appear. For some reason, your supplier sent wrong parts, or maybe they're inferior parts. So now you need to ensure that this doesn't happen again. You come up with policies for your team to follow before accepting future orders. And this is where things can get complex. Or maybe you need more staff. What's the policy for hiring good talent? Okay. When a company is in a predictable success, the organization is at its prime and it can readily set and consistently achieve its goals. He also writes that if the right balance of systems and process are maintained, There is no reason why an organization cannot remain in predictable success indefinitely. So, one of our top goals as a leader is to kill complex processes before complexity kills your growth. When a team or company operates with complexity, they cannot operate with speed. And this is why so many organizations experience growth and then taper off, and they can't seem to get back to a season of rapid growth. Now, according to the small business statistics, an average of 66% of small businesses last for only 2 years. After that, that's it. Leaders need to realize that organizations start losing their greatness when they start or continue wasting time on doing things that just don't add value and waste time in things that may have had work before, but not anymore. We need to be able to focus on the right things at the right time. As I mentioned earlier, right, leading exceptionally is not easy. So, unscalable process is like this, right? So, you picture a chair. Oh, there goes a chair, right? For the chair to grow taller, each of the four legs need to grow equally, or the chair won't be steady. If one or more elements that drive growth in your organization cannot scale to match that growth, the growth will stall or even topple, right? So to be clear, growing is different than scaling. Growing increases revenue, personnel, or result at a consistent pace. Scaling increases revenue or results at an exponential rate as a whole. So to defeat the enemy of unscalable processes, we need to create and define a reproducible path to growth. A definable growth flow would help you identify the specific drivers that contribute to the growth of your unique team or your organization. So, firstly, you need to define what are your growth drivers. Okay? Drivers can be your people, your product and systems, and customer service support, or you need to define the flow of when and how the drivers increase growth. You need to evaluate and tweak it. Then you need to repeat the process as needed for your company's or your business's success. Okay? This is also effective and helpful when you're going through a change within your market, as well as crisis management. As we can all see today with this pandemic, things had to change and fast. Now, I know a lot of businesses, if you see that, maybe restaurants or boutiques, etc., right? You may accidentally grow, but you're never going to scale without identifying your definable growth drivers. And this is what happened to me when we started doing business. Okay, we were, things were going good. We were making money, and all the 3.5 businesses that we had. But what happens is once change came, we weren't prepared for it. So, so if you're not sure of what the activities are that's not providing value or is holding up growth, you can ask your team. Okay, I'm sure they'll tell you if you haven't heard it already that some complaints about things. This is not working. Why do we have to do it this way, et cetera, et cetera, right? But if they haven't yet, maybe they're afraid to ask them. So remember, right? If you can't define define your growth points, right? How are you going to accomplish them, right? So the third thing is mindset. As leaders, you need to watch your P and Qs at all times. Here's just a few examples of unhealthy mindsets. Complacency, right? Complacency, folks get too comfortable, they get content, um, and they're happy, right? They're making some money. They say, "Oh yeah, I want to break," but what happens is it takes too long. Then you're not doing good. Complacency works for a good meal, but not for business. It's good to celebrate successes, but you cannot overdo it as a leader. right? Next, we talk about pride and blind spots. We heard the phrase pride comes before fall, right? And we all know what blind spots are and can happen when a leader is stuck in his old ways, not willing to listen to anybody, not willing to change because of it could be their pride. They feel it's their family business, and somebody just don't want to deal with the extra effort. Truthfully, okay. Next point is risk adverse, right? Is when you're afraid to grow. So now you got some money, and now you're afraid to lose it. Leaders need to maintain that founder's mentality. When you first started a business, why you started a business, or focus on that dream of why you started the business, right? By taking calculated risks and following through. Because, no successful athlete ever learn or gain experience by sitting on a bench. All right, competition. A lot of people like to compete, and I think we do it in our families. It's weird you hear family feuds and people arguing in their families, especially when it comes down to money, right? It could be sister against sister, brother against brother, husband against wife. It happens. But in the business, we must remember that we must keep the competition outside, not amongst ourselves, okay? Because this will actually kill your business if you have this kind of mindset. And finally, and this is not the end, okay? There's plenty of other mindsets, right? That when taken to a point where it leads you, greed, if you take it to a point where it leads you to cheat and be selfish, whether it's in finances, whether it's in time where, okay, you do the work, you do more work, and I don't want to do so much work, or even recognition. Okay, so when you're taking all the credit from your teammates or from your colleagues, all right, that's being greedy, right? I personally think that greed and moderation is like a goal. Okay, when we have a dream, when we want things, okay, it's good, it's healthy, right? It gives us something to strive for. But more than that, or not sharing, that's just plain greed, and that's not healthy. Okay, so I don't know if anybody wants to, they can, if they have some time, they want to type in some things that maybe some of you've seen, or maybe some of your leaders, maybe some of your teammates that have, or maybe some of your partners that have certain mindsets that can be detrimental to your business, to your team, or maybe even to the family, right? So, um, Chris, what do you think? You have any ideas that come up, or maybe Agnes, if you like, if you have anything that you can add, such as maybe a certain mindset that really can be detrimental to your business?
Well, the when I look at risk,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I am very risk adverse.
Okay.
Um, but then again, I do take risks, and I like to think that I take calculated risks. And sometimes
Right.
I'm very analytical, sometimes I'm very logical, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I am also emotional, where I go with my gut, where I feel that is going to work,
Right.
right? So when I do my analysis, I think of all the different scenarios that could go right, and I think of all the different scenarios that can go wrong. And
Right.
so when I think of the scenarios that can go wrong, then I come up with what would my actions be when these things pop up. So um, I have a term. It's like my contingency plans, and
Right.
so the contingency plans also happen with the things that go right. So when it goes right, we do this. When it goes wrong, we do this, and then we look at it, and then we analyze, and then we adjust. I think that kind of makes sense, right?
Totally, totally, Chris. And yeah, you're right. When sometimes people have a certain risk, but like you said, you do take that risk though. I think everybody is risk adverse in some point of or another. I think that, but then the thing is, some people they get this, they just totally avoid it. Okay, they just totally avoid taking any risk. Like, why do we have to do that, right? Uh, like why do we have to work extra hours, or why do we have to invest in this technology, or this particular item, right? Why do we have to buy a new van? The old junky
Right.
van is fine, right? Okay, thank you so much, Chris. But
No
and let
problem.
me share a story, right? And so as leaders, right, especially if there's partners involved, they need to set a good example of how the company should run, act, and behave, right? What should be accepted and what shouldn't be. Okay, so I had an opportunity to hear a complaint from a business owner about how some of the local employees were getting demanding and complaining about petty things, right? Things which never occurred before. So what we found out later was that it was because the expat staff were getting away with a lot of things, right? The expat staff were being nitpicking and all these things, and so then the local staff weren't able to get away with things like that. And when this things happens, we as leaders and allow it, then it creates jealousy, competition, with the wrong mindset, right? The competition. Okay. So as leaders, we need to ensure like how you're behaving and what is tolerated and what is not. Okay. So number four, underdeveloped leaders. Believe it or not, right? Companies may outgrow their leaders, right? When a company grows, different skills and mindsets are needed to lead and facilitate that growth, whether for the company or for the team. So by understanding the points we talked about in our three-part series on leadership, although leaders need self-awareness, to self-evaluate themselves, a third party outside the company will be better to get a more accurate assessment. And this will increase their self-awareness regarding their personal journey as a leader. If you had to evaluate on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is your leadership development culture? What would it be? Whether is it if it was lower than a 9, what are you going to do about it? If it was a 4 or a 5 or 3, what are you going to do about it? Well, in part two and three of this three-part series, we will focus more on our personal development and what to look for in potential leaders around you and how to develop them. So, Chris, thank you all again for being here today. I really hope today's webinar has brought value to you in your business and career. And if you have any questions now, or if there was anything that was not clear during the talk, I am more than happy to answer them for you now. And don't forget to register for the next following two parts, as we'll be focusing on the how and the what of leadership. Or even better, register for the entire success webinar that Chris Randolph will be doing as well.
Awesome. I have a question.
Sure.
The so in your years of experience in this area, what do you think is the ideal leadership style?
Um,
Or maybe you
Good.
can give us an example of one or two, or maybe even three leadership styles, and then give us your thoughts on which one you think is the most ideal.
That's a great question, Chris. I actually feel that the situational leadership model seems to work because it answers all your questions. Okay, you said you wanted to hear maybe several type of leadership styles. Well, the situational leadership model actually allows you to be able to support, to coach, to designate. All right, depending on the level of your teammates' abilities. Right. So let's say for a new entry level staff comes in, and we cannot just delegate something to him, right? Because there's a lot of things he doesn't know. We cannot just give him support, because we can say, okay, we basically gonna have to do it for them, right? So basically,
Sure.
you have to guide them. Okay, you have to show them exactly. You have to show them the ropes, basically, right? You have to tell them, okay, when you come in, you have to look for here, look for these policies. You have to this is your people you work with. You have to show them the process of how to accomplish their tasks, right? So as they grow more mature into their position, then eventually then you're more able to maybe like start coaching them, right? Because they've been through it and they know that They know basically what they have to do. Maybe they just don't know how to do it yet, or maybe they haven't found a better way to do it. So maybe in that sense, coaching could come in handy, right? And then
Okay.
maybe another level would be delegating, right? So by the time they get to a point, they're in position long enough, they're mature. You can say, okay, listen, I have this thing to do, take it, go run with it, right? And then when they, after doing that, you can just basically support them.
Okay.
So
Understood.
I really like the situational leadership model.
Okay. All right. Do you have any final comments or final words for us before we end in a couple minutes, Coach D?
Well, yeah. First of all, again, I'd like to thank you for having me here, and I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope you're all safe and sound, and just be well. All right. Take care of
Awesome.
yourself. Not only growing yourself physically, spiritually, as well as professionally.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach D. And just a couple housekeeping things.
Hmm.
This is session one of five. So we have a webinar series. We have five sessions spread over 5 weeks. They'll be every Tuesday evening from 7:30 p.m. to about 8:15. And the link should be, below the video somewhere in the description of what you're watching right now. And Coach D will handle the why, the what, and the how. Correct, Coach D?
That's correct, Chris.
All right. So the why, the what, and the how will be on session one, three, and five, and then I will share my thoughts on leadership and how it can affect results and business profits and business revenue on sessions two and four. So um, if you'd like to join us on the remaining four sessions, just look for the link to register for it somewhere in the description of the video that you're watching right now, and we'll see you on final sessions. All right. So I want to wish everyone have a wonderful evening. Merry Christmas in a couple days,
Yeah.
and Coach D, thank you for sharing your expertise and time with us.
Thank you for
And
having me.
we'll see everyone again soon.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you,
Uh,
Agnes.
Agnes, do you have any questions for Coach D before we end the session?
Well, it's very useful. I mean, I'm not being exposed, but this is my first time. I think it's really relevant to everybody that need this leadership guide. I would think is very useful at the moment. I mean, um, I have gained some knowledge from it. I mean, I have some uh, yeah, give me some thoughts of it, how to be a good leader, things that we need to do, and what are the guidelines. Yeah, it's useful. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your comments, Agnes.
Thank you, Agnes.
What you said is exactly what we're looking for um, in sharing this information. With professionals, business owners, and entrepreneurs. Okay.
Mm.
So with that, I want to thank everyone who has been watching. Coach D, thank you for being here with us this evening. We'll see you again next week. We'll switch
Okay.
roles next week. All right.
Okay.
And okay, have a wonderful evening, everyone, and good night.
Good night,
Good night.
everybody. Good night.